Welcome back to Self-Help. In this video, we're going to be talking about some social skills that you can try at home, or at a party, or at school, or at work.
Or wherever you want.
Or wherever you feel that you need social skills. Sometimes it's hard to be confident in your social skills when you feel like you don't have any, right? And if you feel like you have nothing to fall back on when you're interacting with someone, then it can be really tough to, feel like you want to or feel motivated to put yourself in those kind of social situations. So we're going to just talk about 5 simple social skills that you can try that will maybe help you feel a little bit better about socializing. So the first one kind of has 2 parts to it. It's ask good questions and show genuine interest. So ask good questions, show genuine interest. A good question is going to be one that is open-ended, basically meaning that the person won't be able to answer with just a yes or no. Like, for example, what do you like to do? Is an open-ended question because you couldn't just say yes, because that wouldn't make any sense. So open-ended questions are going to help because they're going to steer the conversation a little more authentically, and then it's going to give the other person a chance to talk a little bit more about them, which is what you want. And then when you're showing genuine interest, like we said in the past, people can tell when you're interested in what they're saying and what they have to talk about. So just making sure that you're making good eye contact with them, that you're maybe nodding and saying things like, oh, cool, or uh-huh, and obviously a little more genuine than that, but making those gestures, letting them know that you're there with them and that you're interested in everything they're saying. And if you feel like maybe, and if you start feeling like, and if you ever start feeling, and if you ever feel like, then a quick tip.
Sorry. Right when you got it. Right when you were getting it.
Okay. If you ever feel like you're... What am I saying? Because here's what I'm saying. So, okay. Another quick tip, instead of having to craft some beautiful open-ended question, but you want to learn more information about whatever somebody just said, you can actually just repeat the last 2 or 3 words of what they said in kind of like a questioning tone. And that is usually enough of a prompt for people to know oh, they're interested and they want to learn more about what I just said. And so instead of having to be like, oh, tell me more about that, or having to come up with some question in your head, you can literally just repeat the last couple of words that they said, and that will be enough of a cue for them to know that you want them to continue. We'll show you guys a quick example of this. What kind of career path do you want to follow?
Right now I'm kind of thinking about being a costume designer for film and live productions.
Costume designer for film and live productions?
Yeah, yeah, I got into it just last year, and I've been working at a theater doing stuff for them, and yeah, that's how.
Doing stuff for them?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did an internship over the summer there.
Over the summer?
Yeah, over the summer because it was while I was doing summer semester.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. Just had a
full
conversation.
And I didn't have to come up with anything new.
Anything. You didn't have to pull anything anywhere.
No. So that's the first one. So tip number 2 is having go-to information about yourself that you're comfortable sharing with people. Because I feel like that's where people get hung up, is they don't really know what to say about themselves, or especially when the first day of a college class and the professor has everybody stand up and say,
hi, my name is Brooklyn, and
something interesting about yourself.
Tell us, something interesting about yourself and what your major is.
Yep, exactly. So, and I feel like it's just normal to be asked questions just generally about yourself when you're meeting someone for the first time, whether it's at school or at a party or even at work, with coworkers. So having some go-to information that's just easy to spit off whenever you're asked about it is going to help you feel more comfortable in those situations. So what's kind of some go-to information that you have about yourself when you're talking to people for the first time?
Probably just my interests, because I feel like when you're talking about your interests and maybe they share that, then that can make the situation better. Be like, oh my gosh, no way. Then you can have a whole nother conversation that's comfortable for you because someone shares something in common with you.
Right. And so just kind of knowing what to say in those situations, kind of planning it ahead, saying like, oh, if somebody were to ever ask me, then I could say, I'm really into hiking, and these are the different trails that I like around the area. Or somebody, if you play a musical instrument or you have a sport that you like to play, and then just being able to comfortably say like, oh, this is the sport I play, the position, this is the history I have in it, and this is what I want to do with it, whatever it might be. Just having some quick go-to information so that you don't have to think about it in the moment. It's just going to help make it run a little smoother.
Yeah.
Tip number 3 is understanding that pauses are okay. And just understanding that not all silence is awkward silence, and it doesn't, if there is some silence in the conversation, it doesn't automatically mean that the other person is like bored with you, or they're thinking that it's really awkward and that they don't want to talk to you anymore. The thing to remember though is that with all conversations, you are only responsible for 50% of the conversation. So you don't have to take on the whole 100%
and
of
if
like...
they're not, then you don't have to keep...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're responsible for 50% of it, and just if there is any silence or pauses, that you're not 100% responsible for filling those. That in a normal conversation, it's 50-50. It's like you're only responsible for 50%.
Yeah. I actually have like a funny story with this. It was forever ago, but I was out on this date and we were just like walking down the street, like going somewhere, and we weren't really talking. And I remember I literally wasn't even thinking about it. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that we weren't talking and that it was an awkward silence or anything. We were just like, just walking. It had no effect on me. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh my gosh, like I hate when like there's just a silence. It's just so awkward and like I feel so weird. And it just like kind of took me back, and I was like, wait, really? Like I didn't even notice we weren't talking. Like I just felt completely normal. And it's funny how like in some situations people just get so weird about silence, but then usually like you're just hanging out. Like you really, it's not like there's a reason why there's a pause.
Right.
It just kind of happens, and I usually don't really notice it. And so when he pointed that out, I was like, you just made it weird. Like it wasn't weird before.
That's the worst thing that you can say is, ooh, awkward silence.
Yeah, because you like addressed it, even though it didn't really need to be. And even if I was feeling awkward, I feel like saying that the situation doesn't really help.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So social skill number 4 is this idea of remembering people's names. And for a lot of people, I know that might seem like it's really difficult to do. To that, I would respond and say maybe it's just that you haven't practiced it enough, or you don't have the right, strategies to help you remember people's names, but there is a way.
I have taken a unique part of who you are, and I have used that to memorize your name. Baldy. Your head is bald. It is hairless. It is shiny. It is reflective like a mirror. M, your name is Mark.
Yes.
Got it. It works.
So the importance behind remembering people's names is that if you're able to not only remember it, but kind of drop it a few times in the conversation, you're automatically going to seem a lot more engaged and genuinely interested in people, because people love to hear the sound of their own name. They love when you not only remember their name, but you drop it a few times in the conversation with them. It helps even with dating, socializing with friends, with family, whatever it might be. But using people's names regularly in conversation is going to draw people into you, and it's going to help you feel more confident and probably more relaxed too, because you're going to be able to have that connection with them a little easier. You're going to seem like you're really engaged in the conversation, and hopefully you are, but it's also going to help other people engage, because that's going to spark their attention like, whoa, they just said my name, and it's going to just create a lot more connection.
Right. I have a lot of friends that I admire because I know they do that, and I've seen that a lot. It does make the situation better, and I think the people that they're talking to do notice that, and they do like it, actually.
Social skill number 5 is to have a good exit strategy.
Oh my gosh, that is so hard. That is so hard for me.
Is it so hard for you?
Yes. Isn't so hard for you?
Well, that's good. We're going to talk about it.
Oh.
So at some point, every conversation has to end. Otherwise, we'd just be talking infinitely with people. So it has to come to an end. And sometimes that departure or that, ending of the conversation might be a little rough, and that's okay. What will help is to have maybe go-to exit strategies or try to think of one before that time comes so that, that runs a little smoother. And it's not to say that any conversation ending a little rough is like terrible and like people should freak out because of how awkward it might have been. It's just saying that it's going to be more comfortable for you and maybe the other person you're conversing with if you have a solid exit strategy and that you know what it's going to be and you slip it in at the right time.
So personally, I like trying to find a way, not finding a way out of a conversation, because that sounds like I don't want to be in the conversation.
But ending the conversation.
But yeah, ending the conversation is so hard, and like there are so many situations that are so cringy to me. Like I'll be at a party and let's say like me and someone are talking, and then like we'll be sitting there, and then all of a sudden we like both are just like talking, and then it's just kind of like, oh yeah, cool, and then you're both like, and you like kind of sit there and you're like still saying in front of each other, and then you just like kind of like both like just turn away. That is like the cringiest, like I just, anyways, that for sure number one is like the worst way to do it, for sure. But then the second that I hate so much is when you're talking to someone and then like, let's say like all of a sudden someone they know or like their friend comes up and they're like, hey, and they like come with their hugging, and then they like turn towards each other and start talking, and you're standing there and you're like, okay, I don't know if I should still stand here. I don't know if you want to keep talking to me after you talk to your friend, or if I literally should just dip, because like...
And there are times I've dipped.
Yeah. No, every time without fail. I'm just
I'm
like...
a go.
And I'm just... it's like the SpongeBob meme. I'm a head out. Like literally, that's how it feels. That is also probably one of the worst. Like you're just standing there and you're like... You're just having this fight in your mind, like, should I stay here just in case they just like turn back to you and want to keep talking to you, or do I just leave because they're in this like full-on conversation with someone else?
And that doesn't include you at all.
Like they don't even, they're like not even turned towards you. It's like gotten to the point where they're physically just like this way, and you're like completely just like there's a wall. Like
yeah.
So I need to know. I need to know what is good, because I struggle with this.
So I've been in that situation too, obviously, and there have been times where I just dipped out. But what I found to be helpful is to go up to the person you were talking to and just say, you can use like needing to go get food or something, or talking to somebody else as a good way to get out of it. But what helps is that you just like kind of maybe touch the person on the shoulder that you were talking to, or just like lean into them, just be like, oh, I'm gonna go over here. Let's talk again later.
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
Let's talk again later. It's like I'll let you guys have your time, because obviously I'm not important.
Yeah, but that maybe that's a good go-to, is just be like, let's link up again later.
Yeah.
Like let's talk again later.
Because then you show interest that you still want to talk without just leaving. Because then maybe their friend leaves and they're like, oh, where'd that person go?
Right.
And you like are long gone.
You're already halfway home.
Yeah, and it would just be better if you kind of let them know that you're still interested in continuing the conversation.
And maybe you're not interested in continuing the conversation. In that point, you should celebrate because you got out of it. But let's say that you do want to keep conversing with this person for whatever reason, and you can lean in, like we said, just say, hey, find me again later, or let's talk again later, or I'll be right back. You can just say, I'll be back in just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then usually...
And then from afar you watch them until their friend leaves, and then you...
Oh, okay. The only person that it's awkward for is you. Mm-hmm. And so really, no matter what you say, like the other person's, they're fine, they're taken care of, they're talking to somebody else. And the person who came and rudely interrupted your conversation, they obviously don't care. So just get yourself out of it, and it's fine. Like nobody's gonna think twice about it. Just be like, oh, catch you later, or like, I'll leave you guys here for a second, I gotta go get something, whatever it might be. It's okay. Just know that it's okay to bounce for a minute. That's a good one. The other one is when, like you said, when you're just kind of standing there and you're just like, so yeah. And like the conversation can end now, and that's okay. It's not as much as having a good exit strategy as it is understanding that it's okay.
That the conversation's over.
That the conversation's ended. Yep, exactly right. And so it's more of like checking in with
And
yourself.
then you can be like, oh, well, it was good talking to you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Yeah, so
That's what I found is just like, it was so awesome talking to you and getting to know you, and then just being like, I hope that I get to see you again, but maybe you don't hope that, and that's maybe
What
a
if you're
different
just like,
issue.
hey, it was good to talk to you.
Be like, hey, it was
See
super good
ya.
to talk to you. I'll
I'ma
probably
just-
see you around.
I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, exactly. You might see me over there talking to somebody else, and that's okay.
And don't confine me.
Yeah. So another cool strategy is to reference something in the future. So maybe it's like, you know, something that they're like planning to do in the next couple months. Like maybe it's a trip they're going to take, or like they're playing in like a football game over the weekend.
Yeah, be like,
And
hope
just
that
be like,
football game goes well.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then you can just leave.
Then you can
I
leave,
think that's
exactly.
like wishing them well in something that they mentioned not only shows that you were focused and interested in what they were talking about, but also I think that's a good way to just end it.
oh yeah,
Like
reference
positively.
something in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those were 5 simple strategies that you can use in whatever conversations or social interactions you find yourself in. We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to comment and let us know what your favorite tips and tricks are when you're socializing or interacting with others. Again, if you want to follow Brooklyn on Instagram or her art account, link is going to be in the description below, and she's got a lot of cool stuff that you can check out. Feel free to subscribe if you like these videos. You also don't have to if you don't want to. But if you want to see more of them, subscribing always helps. As always, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.